Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style.
Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about practical and equivalent forms of linear functions. Let's go ahead and take a look at a review. So a quick review of all of our linear forms. So we've got slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Point-slope form, y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1, close parentheses, and standard form, ax plus by equals c. And remember in standard form that a must always be positive. Now let's take a look at example A. So here in example A, it says write the linear equation of the line that has a slope of -4 and passes through the point 3, -9. Write the equation in standard form. So we're going to first write our standard form so we know that we have that. So we've got ax plus by is equal to c. So now we've got to figure out how we can write this in a form, because we can't just write it straight in standard form. We don't have c, we don't have b, and we don't have a. We really only have our slope. So we've got to make sure that we can put that into a form that we know. So we can't just go straight into standard form. So we're going to use point slope to help get us there. So remember, point slope is going to be y minus y1. Then we're going to be that equals to, that's going to be m parentheses x minus x1. All right, so let's go ahead and plug in what we have. So we know that we have our slope, that's -4, and we know that I have a point, 3, -9. So I'm going to plug that in. We're going to do y minus -9, which is going to be positive 9. Minus is going to be a plus. We've got our m, which is -4, where x is going to be our regular x, minus 3, because that's our x from our point. Now that we've done that, we can now go ahead and set this up or simplify it so that we can put it in standard form. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my wall. We're going to multiply -4 times x, -4 times -3. So we're going to bring down our y plus 9, because we didn't do anything with that. -4 times x is -4x, and -4 times -3 is going to be positive 12. All right, so now that we want it to be looking like standard form, we've got to make sure we've got our y and x on our left-hand side and our constants on the right-hand side. So we've got to move that positive 9, and we've got to move our -4x. So we're going to subtract 9 first to make sure that gets to the other side with all of our constants. We'll end up with y over here, -4x, and then positive 12, and -9 is going to give me positive 3. Then my next step is going to move that 4x to the other side by adding 4x to both sides. These are going to cancel, leave me with positive 4x plus y is equal to positive 3. And we can now see that we've written it in standard form, and our a is positive, so we don't have to worry about that. And we've got 4x plus y equals 3. Now let's move on to example B. Here we are at example B, and it says Samuel recently brought home a new puppy at 6 weeks, and the puppy weighed 9 pounds. At 10 weeks, the puppy weighed 14 pounds. Write a linear model in slope-intercept form, so that's important because we're going to want to write this in slope-intercept form. To that could be used to determine the puppy's weight at any given time. So we need slope-intercept form, so let's write that down, y equals mx plus b, because we want to know that's the form that we're going into. All right, the only problem with that is we don't know the slope and we don't know the intercept. So other than that, we're doing great. So the bad news with that is that we don't have that, but the good news is we do know how to find slope using 2 points, and we do have 2 points because we have the puppy's weight in weeks and 2 times, right? So we know that 6 weeks it weighs 9 pounds, and at 10 weeks we know it weighs 14 pounds. So knowing those 2 things, we can go ahead and find our slope, because we know our slope formula. Our slope formula we're going to use is m, which is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So as long as we can do that, we can get our answer here. So we know we're going to label our things. So we've got y2, we've got y1, we've got x2, we've got x1. So now that we've got that, let's go ahead and plug them in. So m is going to be equal to 9. No, not 9. 9's not going to go first. It's going to be 14. So we're going to do 14 minus 9 on the top. And we've got 10 minus 6 on the bottom. So 9 minus 14 is going to be 5, and 10 minus 6 is going to be 4. So our slope is going to be 5/4. All right, fabulous. So now that we know that, we got to get to our slope-intercept form. We've got our slope, we don't have our intercept. So we're going to be able to set up an equation to solve for that. So again, we're going to be looking for y equals mx plus b. And we're going to plug in what we know. So we know a y. We could pick any one of our points. It doesn't matter. I'm going to choose 6 and 9, but you could pick 10 and 14. It doesn't really matter as long as you pick one from each, or you pick the same points in the same ordered pair. So we're going to do 9 is going to be equal to m, which we know is 5/4 because we just found our slope. Our x is going to be our 6 here, and we're going to be looking for b, so plus b. Now we got to go about solving our equation. So we're going to draw a wall. We got to do 5/4 times 6, and 5/4 times 6 is 15 halves. But 15 halves isn't going to be super great when we're talking about a pound of a puppy. Nobody talks about their puppy as an improper fraction. So we're going to switch over to decimals because it is within the context of the problem. Remember, that's important. If we have a problem that has context to it, we can make sure we're using numbers that apply to that context. So we're going to have 7.5 here plus b. Bring down our positive 9 because we didn't do anything with that. Now we're going to subtract 7.5 on both sides because we got ourselves a good old one-step equation. These are going to cancel, leave me with b. 9 minus 7.5 is 1.5. So we've got b is equal to 1.5. So now that we've got our b and we've got our slope, we can write slope-intercept form. So again, we want slope-intercept form to be y equals mx plus b. So let's go ahead and plug in what we have now. So we know our y is just going to be y. Our slope is going to be 5/4. But again, we're going to be switching to decimals here because we're talking about pounds of a puppy. So 5/4 is the same thing as 1.25. So we've got 1.25x. And then we've got plus 1.5 for our b, and we are now in slope-intercept form. Now let's take a look at the next example. So here we are at example C, and it says Jenny makes $12 per hour babysitting, $20 an hour per tutoring, and she is saving to buy a train ticket to New York this summer. The train ticket costs $120. Write an equation to show how much money Jenny has saved towards her train ticket. All right, so we're going to write an equation, and we're going to graph it, because it doesn't say to graph it, but we've got a sweet graph there, and we're not going to let it go to waste, so we're going to make sure that we use that. Again, we could use any equation that we want. It doesn't tell us a form, but since they've told us it's 12 hours per ticket and gave us an X, and $20 per hour tutoring, and they gave us a Y, that's probably going to be standard form is the easiest way to go. So remember, standard form is ax plus by is equal to c. So we know our A is going to be 12 because that's how many hours babysitting. X plus our hours tutoring is $20 Y, and we know altogether we want to end up with $120. So that's great. We've written our equation. We've done the thing that it's asked us to do, but now we're going to go ahead and graph it because we got that sweet graph there. So we're going to use our intercepts to do that. That's the easiest way to do it when we've got standard form. So remember, we're going to be substituting in 0 for X or Y so that we can get our particular intercept that we want. So the first one we're going to do is our Y-intercept. So for that, we're going to take our 12X and we're going to get rid of the X, and get our X-intercept by getting rid of the Y. So we're going to take a 20, put in 0 for Y is equal to 120. So 20 times 0 is 0, so we end up with 12x equals 120. We're going to then divide both sides by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1, or 1x, and 120 divided by 12 is 10. So x equals 10, so our x-intercept is 10, 0. On the other side, we're going to do the same thing to find our y-intercept, except this time we're going to take out the x, so we're going to put in a 0 for that. Plus 20y is going to be equal to 120. So we're going to go ahead and solve our equation where we've got 12 times 0 is 0. We end up with 20y is equal to 120. We're going to divide both sides by 20. 20 divided by 20 is 0, or is 1, or 1y, and 120 divided by 20 is 6. I'm tripping over my words. So we're going to end up with our point here of 0, 6. So now that we've got our coordinates, we can go ahead and plot them on our graph. We can see our graph doesn't have any numbers, but we can count. So we can count over to 10, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go ahead and put a point there at 0, 10. And we can also count up 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can go ahead and count there. And then we're going to put a line between those 2 points. Now remember, this line, we're going to have an arrow only on one end because we're not going to be able to go back in time and go ahead and add hours that we would be to babysitting and or tutoring. So we're not going to have any line to our left here because where the y-intercept is where she starts working. So that wouldn't make any sense to have points beyond that. That brings us to the end of this example. It also brings us to the end of this video. If you like this video, go and throw us a thumbs up. If you love this video, go and throw us a sub. And we will catch you in the next one.